My name is John Decaprio, and I want to share with you how I accepted Jesus Christ into my heart. I'm going to be 30 years old, and I'm married. I have a little girl named Race Victorious, and I just want to share my history with you. Before I was born, my father committed suicide, and my mother was sent to the worst mental hospital in the state of New Jersey. I was sent to live with my aunt and uncle. They were my legal guardians, and my mother got introduced back into our family when I was 2 years old. So I grew up with my mom and my aunt and my uncle, but my mom wasn't really able to take care of me, but she was in the picture. My family had a lot of money. My uncle was a commercial roofer, and we were pretty well off, but by the time, I'd say as a young adult or a teenager, like 12, 13 years old, the verbal abuse from my uncle got really, really severe. At times it was like living in a horror movie. So I had been riding bikes, BMX bikes, for ever since I could pedal it, really. And then I got serious into riding around 11 years old. I started racing, and quickly that transferred over to like riding ramps and riding street and dirt jumps. By the time I was 16, I got into some magazines, some DVDs, and things were looking good for my riding career, but I ended up dating this girl, and it didn't work out, and after 6 months of dating her, she wasn't allowed to see me anymore, and I ended up going into a really bad depression, and I ended up staying in my house from probably age 15 to age 16. I stayed indoors, and right around that time that she broke up with me, my aunt and uncle separated, we lost our family home, my dog died, and my girlfriend broke up with me. So basically I went into just a really, really bad, almost like comatose state of depression. And so it took a year, and then finally, after tricking myself into believing I had a brain tumor and that I was really like sick and dying, my parents got me help. My mother and my aunt got me some help, and I went to just a quick stay at a mental hospital. Within 3 weeks, a month, I was out, and I started feeling a little bit better. But right around that time, I got out, and things were I was starting to come out of my shell, and another girl came into my life. Her and I ended up dating for 5 years or so, and I got back into riding my bike. I got into magazines. I actually started Death Star, but it wasn't for the right reasons. I started Death Star not for Jesus, but for basically the other team. And so I had this love relationship, just head over heels for this girl, and it fell apart. Around the 4 or 5 year mark, it fell apart, and I lost my mind again. I went crazy. I became delusional. I became psychotic. I was very rageful. I was just out of my mind. And between the breakup with her, drinking alcohol, abusing my prescription medication for bipolar, I was just out there. So I ended up personally, like my mom back in the day, in the worst mental hospital in the state of New Jersey in my time, which was called Ancora. And the property there, it's almost like a detention camp. It's almost like a big federal jail. They ended up shooting me up in the emergency room with this drug, and I had an allergic reaction to it, and I started to die. My face locked up, my hands locked up, my jaw, I couldn't talk, and I was basically starting to die. My lungs were shutting down, and I woke up in that hospital in Ancora, locked behind bars, not knowing who I was or where I was, and that lasted for 2 weeks before I became coherent. And that introduced me to a 6 or 7 month stay at Ancora in southern New Jersey. And it was a living hell. I mean, the things I saw at Ancora, I mean, nobody should see those things, you know. It was just very, very bad. People getting electric shock therapy, people trying to kill other people in there, people trying to kill the doctors. A lot of demonic, I mean, it's stuff you would see in horror movies that really took place in that mental hospital. I experienced things supernatural there, like demonic beings inside this building, because many people had died in that building, and it was just very, very cursed property. So during that stay, I received Jesus into my heart. I was brought a Bible by my aunt, and I read every red letter that Jesus wrote. I read everything Jesus had to say to the human race, and I fell in love with Jesus. I repented of my sins. I felt the love of Christ inside my body, inside my heart, and in my soul. I felt totally forgiven for all the bad things I had done and people I had hurt. And I really started to become on fire for Jesus. In that mental hospital, I was witnessing to other patients. I was laying hands on them, and they were experiencing the love of Christ as well. I got out of that hospital, thank God, and I went right to church instead of going to any other thing they told me to go. So I went right to my local church. It was a Pentecostal church, and I became on fire for Jesus. And I met my wife there. We eventually had our daughter. We got married. We bought a house together. But the only thing is that I couldn't get it right. I couldn't give up the rock star lifestyle with BMX and everything I had been involved with. I ended up picking alcohol back up. I was still on and off of my bipolar medication after that, and things just went downhill. I mean, my fire went out. My fire died. I knew Jesus was real. I knew all the experiences I felt inside that mental hospital. I knew how much Jesus loved me and how much I was saved and born again and going to heaven if I passed away, but I just couldn't hold it together. And so basically I was married for about 4 years, and 4 or 5 years we had our baby girl. Around her being 3 years old, I decided to check into the Colony of Mercy in Whiting, New Jersey. It's a Christian rehab. And I surrendered to Jesus there, and I fell in love with Jesus again. And I've been sober for just about 2 years now. I've been off of bipolar medication for 2 years now. I've been doing just leaps and bounds with Jesus. You know, like he took my desire for alcohol away. He took the desire for me away. I was so addicted to me. I was so addicted to being in the spotlight and having to be a show-off and all this other stuff, when really, like, it's not about me, it's about Jesus. And now I'm focused on him and his love and everything he has to offer. And I don't see myself turning back this time. I mean, he's just so amazing. He's filled, you know, I was trying to fill voids in my heart and in my life with everything besides Jesus. And now Jesus has been everything to me. And so I started up Death Star again for the Lord, and it's all about death to self. Basically, Jesus was the star of death. He lived a sinless life and went to the cross to take our sin away. And not only did he take our sin away so that when he sees us by believing in him, he doesn't see sin anymore. He rose again on the third day, and he is alive. You know, he conquered the grave, so Jesus is the star of death. So basically, I just with Death Star, it's clothing, it's hats. We want to do a bunch of things with it. We do BMX demos, and I share my testimony. But the most important thing with Death Star is getting the word of God out there. It's not about clothes. It's not about BMX bikes or anything besides sharing the light of Jesus with a dark world. And so, yeah, I mean, my life has turned around so much since I surrendered to Jesus. The situations that have happened since I surrendered have been amazing, far above any of my expectations in such a short period of time. In 2 years, I've met so many different people. I mean, it's too much to explain, but if you visit the website, you'll kind of see what's been going on with Death Star, and I'm just so grateful and thankful to be alive, to not be bipolar, to not be mentally ill, to not be an alcoholic, to not be an addict. But I'm a child of God, and I'm just so grateful for just being free in Jesus Christ. And so yeah, that's my testimony. And if you've watched it all the way to the end, thank you very, very much. And talk to you soon.